youth and long-term athletic development, that's what LTAD stands for, is important because in the day, when we have children coming through, one, it is so fulfilling seeing them grow and actually become like adults and achieve different things in life, not just becoming professional sporting players. That's not what all of our clients are. Like I work with a lot, like we've both worked with a lot of youth, and unfortunately only like a few of those actually end up becoming professional players. But what you see them succeed into is people who create successful habits, live long, healthy lives, and continue to exercise and play sport or do whatever they do to be fulfilled, right? So when you have juniors coming to the door, treat it like they're precious, like they are your gems, like they are so crucial to work with, and you can achieve so much with them. So again, some of the fundamentals today might be a bit repetitive, might be a little bit boring, but it is just crucial to understand because when you get people like this in the gym, like you want them, these people are long-term clients. Now, just a little start, like just to get us thinking, like what is a major focus for children? Like just like give me some things, like when you have kids come through the door, like you know, range from ages of like early childhood to like adolescence, like what is like a focus for them? Like what do we want to focus on?
Movement efficiency.
Yeah, movement efficiency. Anything else?
There's a one word in particular that we want to really focusing for them to get them to be adherent. Fun. That's
Fun.
it.
Fun.
Very good. What is fun? I don't know, but the children must.
Yes. Fun. Very crucial. As AAA like to say, it's fundamentals with the children. So, capital F-U-N. Fundamentals. Anything else? Some kid comes through the door, what do we want to focus on? It could be multiple things.
Strength build.
Yeah. What type of strength development? Like foundational strength, yeah. Like there's nothing specific here that you guys can give me about multiple things.
What consideration? Actually, no, not yet. Main focus.
There's a couple more. Say someone comes through the doors, they want to become more explosive, jump higher. What are you going to first do with them? Like someone wants to start jumping, they want to start moving around, be young. But what I always teach, someone has to be able to absorb force first, understand positions. What do we call that? Anyone know? Landing mechanics. So and this is things we'll go over next week where we've got power and plyometrics, which is going to be further developed for all you guys, but it'll be great to go through. Landing mechanics, just focus on basic movements, understanding where your body is. Is there any considerations? So we can say focus on considerations here.
Next question. There's a big consideration you all need to consider. That's not as relevant to adults. What is it? Children. You all know it.
Any consideration, just give me anything. Anything that when a child comes through the door, what do you have to consider?
What does a child go through that adults know? Was that?
Puberty.
Yeah. Exactly. That's one of the biggest ones. And do we know which sex enters puberty first?
Females.
Correct. So what could you expect then? How does that infer your coaching? How you put people in groups?
Let's think logically here. Someone's growing a little bit earlier. You have female and male, same age, but females tend to approximately grow earlier and reach puberty earlier. What does that mean in terms of the structure, the programming, grouping them?
We get stronger early.
Yeah, they'll be able to achieve tasks more efficiently earlier. Yeah, 100%.
This is really cool. So, you know, with adults, we could group people based off biological age. Like I'm putting the elderly with the elderly. Typically, you know, the middle-aged, the younger people, they go in their groups. What would you do differently for children? You would consider biological age, of course, but what else would you consider?
Maturity?
Yes, that's a very good word. Like, maturation is the word. You would consider the relative amount of maturation for the individual kid, and you wouldn't put like a 12-year-old female necessarily with like the next 12-year-old female, because maybe she maturated first. She might have to go with the 14-year-old boys. Oh, sorry, the 12-year-old boys.
Yeah, 100%. Anything else? Even just basic considerations. When someone first comes to the gym, what are we considering?
Not really like specific to it, but just like injuries.
Yeah, injuries. So just even though it's like for kids, it's important to know, even at a young age, if they've suffered any serious injury, it's important to know, especially before their growth spell. It's important to understand. What do we also notice with a lot of kids prior to puberty in terms of mobility? What's something that we notice sometimes? Females, hypermobility, yeah, can be quite common. Yeah, 100%. So keep that into consideration when programming certain things.
Yeah, they're flexible, but they're very weak with their ranges of motion.
That's what I mean. So it's like, are you gonna you see someone with great hip mobility? Are you gonna be like this is where I had a great chat with Max Manov yesterday. You don't necessarily need to give someone a hip mobility drill if they don't need it. Do you know what I mean? Like if you find someone that's extremely mobile, I'm not saying don't focus on mobility, but maybe challenge them where they have to create strength through length. Does that make sense? Where they got to contract, create stability through deeper range of motion. So this is where you got to analyze that client. And you do it for everyone, but with kids, it's going to be more. It's going to be more out there. You're going to see a lot more kids with hypermobility as well. Nice. Okay, so we got focus and considerations. Those are crucial. Every time a kid comes through the door, you need to think about those things. You need to understand what you're trying to implement with them. Now I said what LTAD stands for. Does anyone know actually what like long-term athletic development kind of is? As a rough idea, just want to explain it in their own terms. I don't actually care what, there's no specific definition. Just explain your own terms what long-term athletic development is to you. What it means to you. So when a kid comes through the doors, what does it mean to you? Charles, what? Laugh right now.
I was just going to say, like, just getting them to developing them in a, like developing them at, I can't think of another word for it, but like
That's right.
at the right speed so that they sustain their like gains and benefits for the long term.
Yeah.
And to benefit them in not only sport but in life.
What does that mean?
Just everything I said.
I think not even just sustain their benefits, like I agree, but like the benefits they're gonna get from that is like it's awesome. Like when someone first comes to you as a kid, yeah, great. But the main thing is we're trying to create, like there's a 7-stage model which we can show you a diagram, but in terms of just understanding LTAD, it's literally just a framework that allows children at any age to come through, understand the basic fundamentals of, learning their body, getting stronger, becoming more powerful, developing their physical capacity so they can sustain the ability to exercise for their whole life. So we're looking at it from long term, so not just the benefits they're going to get for the next few years. We're looking at how to create healthy habits, allow them to understand their body so they can continue for the rest of their life. So regardless, and this is what I said from the start, a lot aren't going to make pro sport, unfortunately. And I'm not going to tell my junior athletes that. I hope all the best for them, but I want to make sure I give them the best chance of enjoying exercise so they can continue that for the rest of their life and implement different things. Regardless if they continue to play sport, if they decide to play at a different level, or if they just stop sport completely, how can I ensure that they still have the fundamental basis to continue exercise for life? Does that make sense? So this is where understanding if it's fun, just giving them general things is so crucial so that they can have a basis so when they don't play sport, they can, like if they decide to stop playing sport at 21, they're not like, well, what the fuck do I do? All I understood was cricket. You know what I mean? Now I understood cricket, I understood swinging, I understood the specific drill in the gym. But what else do I do from that? And then guess what happens? They backtrack. They're not in the gym anymore, they don't really understand anything, they lose motivation. And then once you lose those habits, it's a lot harder to gain back. Whereas when you start with youth, and you bring people in the gym, and you create fun, healthy habits, and they enjoy it, and they continue that each year and slowly progress. Like there's nothing rushed about this. That's why we call it long term. It's slow progression that allows them to develop a basis regardless if they're with you for their whole life, but they can train for the rest of their life. You know, they have the capacity to go do that. And that's the most important thing. And that's why LTAD is probably like one of the greatest, like and most fulfilling things you ever see. Because, you know, obviously, as I get older, as we all get older, there's going to be people, you know, in 20 years that you might have first started coaching, whereas in 20 years' time you might see them and they still might be healthy. They might still be achieving awesome things. And that is so much more fulfilling than just seeing if someone makes it professional or not. You know what I mean? Because there's so many more clients than just the ones that are going to make it professional. I think we have to understand that. So, 100%. Did we want to get up the 7-stage model? Just to give me a quick look. So, here is like the actual model of the framework. And it pretty much just shows you, and look, I'll screenshot this, I'll send it to you guys in the chat as well, of like different ages and what your kind of focus is. Like obviously you can see here, from like 0 to 6, like just get them moving. Like don't even like you can see at the younger years, like what is the focus here? Like in like a rough, no definition, what is the focus? You can see like these first stages, like, just do something. Literally,
What's one word? What's this? What are we doing here? Because the question is, can you get parents come to you, can I, weight training's dangerous. What if it starts with my kid's growth? Like, does anybody believe that? Does anybody question that? Or we?
Does anyone know why it's a myth? That's actually more important. So if someone were to come to you, because you're going to get it. You're going to get parents that are going to come to you and be like, what if weight training stunts my growth? Like, why should I send him to you? Like, isn't he going to be
They won't know the importance of starting from this age. But can we? How early can we start weight training?
Straight out of the womb.
That's what happened with my kid. They're coming out the womb and we're putting them in the gym. No.
Straight into the squat rack.
Yeah, the gym is the hospital.
How early? Or what criteria should we look at? How do we think about that?
What do we define as strength training? Again. Why is it a myth? Why is it a myth that kids can't be in the gym doing strength training? Does anyone have?
So why people want to say like they shouldn't be doing strength training? Is that what you asked?
Yeah, well, why do people think that kids can't do strength training? Why do people think it stunts their growth? Why is that a myth?
If you can't argue someone's opposing perspective, then how can you counter it? Or how can you
So if
counter
a parent
it?
comes to you, Manov, and they say,
opinion.
and they said, well, why should I send my kid to you? Like, isn't his growth going to be stunted? And you don't know what to say. We're in a bit of trouble, aren't we? Like, we're in a bit of trouble. They're not going to send the kid to you.
No.
So tell me, what would you say in that time? Because I know you know it. You just need to try articulate it. You got it. Just, I don't care how you say it. There's no definition. Just try to give it to me.
Out of curiosity, how many parents have come to you and
Most.
asked and
Five.
saying as well?
A lot.
Because I've had about like every under 18 kid training. It's the first question you get asked.
Depends on what sport. That's a big thing. Like, because obviously I've trained multiple different sports. Like, you get like footy players, parents who kind of understand it because there's more of a culture around it. But then I get like soccer players and they're bitches. Like, they don't want to, like, they think like, if I touch a dumbbell, like, it's going to affect my soccer skills. It's like, well, not really. So, I think it depends on the sport. But have I had a lot of parents before? 100%.
Yeah.
I'm not saying every parent's like that, but yeah, definitely.
And for me, it's just the parents not understanding why weight training is a gateway to their children thriving. So that's what we have to sell to them.
Yes.
Athletes Authority, I don't know if they've even noticed, Athletes Authority, one of the most successful gyms in Australia, private facilities, most of their athletes are they're not paying. They're not paying, their parents are paying. So how do they make millions of dollars a year? They have to sell to the parents. If you guys don't know how to do that, then you lose like a big market of people that you could want to work with. Let's back up. The answer here, so how do I sell this to parents? Well, Sally, your kid's actually been weight training and been doing movement since they've been born. You know when they play hopscotch right? They do this, well, that is a version of what we would do in the gym, but in a more controlled setting. So you can use real life examples to help parents and children understand that, oh, you're doing it. You're just doing it in a controlled setting that is sequential and logical to help run this continue and help. The biggest thing you can come with is that, so my child, that people don't want to see their children injured or not doing the things that they love. And that's the biggest point that you could probably argue. I don't know how you try and but like
100%.
persuade, but that's a big one.
The biggest thing is, once they get to here, they've already developed poor movement patterns, and all we're going to try to do at these early stages is ensure they move well. Because the more they understand their body and the more they move well, then the reduced risk of once they get to here, that they're going to move poorly and increase their risk of injury. Does that make sense? So we're going to prevent that, because the point they get to here, it's a lot fucking harder to start reducing habits, poor movement patterns, and then we get a lot of 14, 15, 16-year-old kids who've torn the ACL and gone through that, and then you got to rejig the cycle again. So we want to prevent that. We want to give them the best chance to succeed, not be injured, and move well. And then we just slowly progress that to different things. It's not just about going under a barbell. That's not what strength training is. That's not what our job is. Our job is to have juniors come in here, move better, understand their body, become more proficient, and slowly gain strength, power, speed in different drills that are fun, engaging, and will allow them to move better without being injured. Does that make sense? Anything to add with that?
Andy, I'm parents. Andy, I just don't know about, I don't know if it's too early for my kid. Couldn't they get injured weight training? I don't know if it's the right time. Maybe we'll wait. We'll wait till he's a bit older, so he doesn't hurt himself in the gym and grows up a little bit more. What do you say to that?
Well, I'd be trying to, like in the gym, trying to teach them how to move and understand their body better, so that as they get older and they progress, they're less likely to get injured.
Okay, good. You want to talk about that? Good. I won't keep going. I'm just going to get you to practice, get you guys to practice. Cool.
Enough. I want to still hear that answer.
Yep.
So, parent comes up to you. They said, isn't strength training going to hurt my kid? Isn't it going to stunt their growth?
No, it's not gonna hurt just because strength to if at a young age, if the child is moving efficiently, moving through all the ranges, is active, getting stronger in different positions, it's not gonna hurt, because
Sorry, I keep thinking.
yeah.
Your ability to persuade people and communicate,
It's more about articulation and
it's way more important than the theory.
100%.
Because Chris just fucking went in a world. How many books did you have to read and learn over an hour? Like 6? 5?
10 books and 10 1 hour videos.
Oh my god. 10 weeks.
Well, 8 weeks, yeah.
Oh. So and then you had to present on it, right?
And write reviews, yeah.
That's an unbelievable pace of learning. If Chris didn't he has all this information in his beautiful brain, right? His brain is growing, it's very big.
Big head.
If he didn't have the ability to communicate it, then it's gone. So I just want to emphasize that for you guys. AKA read How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Actually, because I don't work with any kids, I haven't in the past. I actually haven't heard anything about parents saying it was their child's growth. So why would they even say that? What's their definition? Why do they say that?
I think it's kind of they just don't want their kid to be injured. I think that's the biggest thing, and they just want to make sure that the place their kid is going, because there can be such a stigma about strength training.
Yeah.
And especially for kids, they're scared they become bodybuilders, or they hurt their backs, and it's very dependent on the parents' education. So your job, when parents come to you, is to educate them. So they're just concerned. So people can take it like, oh fuck, you know, they don't understand. Well, it's like, no, they just need to be educated. And that's that's literally what Sandals is saying, is like when the parent comes to you, we have to persuade them. So they just need to understand why it isn't. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think more like, do they come to you guys with anything more than just, I've heard it starts to grow? Like, do they say anything more like
Yeah,
deeper than
they
that?
just don't
Like,
understand. They don't understand why it's going to help them. Like, maybe an elderly person isn't even aware that weight training is probably one of the best things they can do to minimise disease and death.
I think it's because they don't understand the benefits that come with it. So even like with athletes in general, regardless of like youth population or parents, like a lot don't understand or aren't educated on why like a performance coach's job is so crucial for athletic development. Do you know what I mean? Like, and see how that's important. So I think the biggest thing is with parents, they're coming there because they might have heard that it's beneficial. They just want to make sure that, because there's always going to be some stigma, that it may be risky. So they just want to make sure, they want to clear that up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There's fear of the unknown as well. I
Yeah.
don't know, it's like, they're going to be petrified to send their kids to someone if they just don't know if they're okay. Like, that reassurance. And then, was it Andy? What you were saying before, like, the gym's a controlled environment as well. You're in control of everything here. You throw them on a football field or soccer field, their knees are caving in, like, all shit's happening, people are going to run through them. I'd actually argue you're going to get injured out in the field. And the chances of getting injured on the field are fucking extreme compared to you teaching the box squat here as well. So like that whole injury myth as well, you can just say, hey, you know, I'm controlling them for 90 minutes down here. It's very relaxed. You know, the plyometrics Alex was talking about, you know, they're jumping on monkey bars, they're falling off monkey bars, they're tripping, they're slipping, like the chances of injury outside of the gym are fucking enormous compared to a controlled environment where you're working with them.
Yes.
So that's another really big selling point you can all use. Like, oh, I'm with them, they're safe down here, we're controlling everything. Whereas you don't know if they're going to jump up at school, land on a rock and snap their leg. Like that can happen just as quickly. So sell on the control as well, that it's a safe place for everyone to learn under guidance, sure.
Well said.
Yeah. He's done his sales work.
You put it back on yourself and be like, how many times have you hurt yourself in the gym compared to, you know, falling off a friggin' tree or falling off your bike or hurt yourself?
100%.
So let's have a look at some kids actually lifting weights. He's doing a hang clean. If you show them examples of
chest up.
If you show them examples of kids safely lifting weights, does your kid squat up and down? Yes. Would you like them to be more confident in their body as they grow up? It's very simple. Would you like them to get injured less? And then, just having fun. Right.
Shit landing mechanics.
So if you show them videos, examples, like I'll put this in the chat, you guys can put this in your notes. And that's Dad, I guess. Bang.
Has anyone seen Zingler strength? Is it Zingler?
I don't know.
He great strength coach in America. He gets his kid to just move bricks. Just
like that.
Up and down. Yeah.
Unpaid labor.
Just like moves bricks, like grab a dumbbell and like move it somewhere, or like roll a medicine bowl, like just things that are just like natural for our bodies. Like we naturally are able to lift, carry, move, pick up things. That's what we do every single day. There's loading with everything, with your shopping bag, whatever it be, with your school bag. It's like a school bag can weigh, like when kids put all their fucking books in there, that can weigh quite a bit. It's heavier than the dumbbells we give them. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, when we talk about loading, like it's a myth, because we don't just chuck 100 kilos on a kid. It's like what we're doing is we're slowly, progressively overloading them as they move well in positions so they get stronger. Yeah, so they can handle the loads of life when they're playing sport, when there's a big, that big kid on the team just rammed straight into you. Like his force is probably way more than one of those 3 kilo dumbbells. Yeah, so it's like regulating that, controlling that so we slowly get stronger. That's why we're not going to just stunt our growth. It's not like we're just throwing ridiculous amounts of weight. It's regulated, it's controlled, like Chich said. This is all controlled and planned.
And I think we're talking a lot, just show them. Like, the Chinese do an incredible job with their athletic development programs for weightlifting. and you talk about now, not only they're lifting load, but technique and form is, I mean, come on. This kid's 8, 10 years old, I don't know what he is, somewhere between there. I'll move up the way.
I'll be in the Olympics soon.
Right? And if you just look up Chinese weightlifting program children, you will see all of this for days. So I'm like, what do you think?
He wants more. He wants more. He wants more. Give him another plate.
Show them.
I chose not to eat on there.
Next.
100%. So I think the biggest thing is you guys just have to have a think of like, you're going to get people coming up to you and talking to you. Like parents are going to ask you why this is beneficial. And you need to be prepared to answer that. Because none of it, like Sando said, none of this shit matters unless you can do that. Because you all know what to do when a kid comes in. I'm pretty sure we're going to do it today and you guys will do it. But if you can't get them in the door, then you're in trouble. And the good thing, and I'm not trying to say this to use people, but in terms of business standpoint, why is that beneficial? LTAD.
Oh yeah.
Why is that beneficial?
Oh, God.
Because they're with you long term.
Absolutely.
Long-term clients. From a business standpoint, you want people to be with you long-term. Now, if you get youth and you explain to them the importance of this long-term athletic development, you got a couple of years sorted out for you, if you sell it correctly. It's not a 12-week thing. Like I've had parents come to me like, yeah, can we do this? You know, like he's got to go to nationals in like 5 weeks. I'm like, what? Like, I'm sorry, I can't help you in that time. Straight up. Like you gotta tell them.
You said what?
Yeah, what? What? Do you know what I mean? Like you just gotta be honest with them. Like don't promise people things just because they say it. You gotta explain because the right people will come to you, and from a business standpoint, that is effective. I don't know how many youth people do you coach? Approximately. Like,
What he said to that parent when he said that 5 months in nationals?
no, 5 weeks.
5 weeks.
So I had another soccer kid like early this year, and he said that. I said, well, look, we're like it's got to be long term. Like you have to. Like I can't get you results in that time. I said by the time we start, that's one block. I said then you got to go national. I can't improve your aerobic capacity. I can't do that. So I sat down with the parent. I explained to him that the things we do take time. Yeah, to get stronger, to move better. So it's not about what's happening now. Like, yeah, you want him to perform better at nationals. I'm sure he'll do great, but I don't care about what's happening this year. I care about it in a couple of years. Because I said to him, what's your goal? His kid wanted to play professional soccer. Okay? I didn't say, oh, well, you won't or you will. But I said, if you want to worry about that, this is going to benefit you for those long-term years. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Chit
Yeah,
chat.
I got 3, so I got a 16-year-old powerlifter,
Yep.
14-year-old NPL soccer, and 14-year-old gym pole.
And how long have they been with you for?
14-year-old soccer kid I started with 2.5 years ago at my shitty little gym, Trifusion, so I was there. Powerlifter, 6 months, and the other kid just started a few weeks ago. But I've had a kid like follow me from Brighton all the way to Hawthorne, and he lives in the city.
2.5 fucking years.
And I think the big rapport I got was with the kid, but also involvement with the parents. So all the kids lifting in the gym, like Alex, I was just trying to ask, can you get up my profile and I'll show the kid that I'm lifting front squatting with. Every video I take in the gym of the kids I train, I send to the parents straight away, and I give them a recap. Hey, I'll just get the video up. Hey Matt, Block did really, really well today in the gym. And Sebastian Hope's got his kids lifting as well, if you guys want to look at good form. But yeah, like, hey Matt, Block did really, really well today in the gym. 45 kilo front squats, like, absolutely smacked it. Improving really well. Next week, the targets are this. And just keep your parents involved, because they're paying for it, right? They're paying, you know, $80, $90, $100 a week. They've got a right to know where their money's being invested.
Yeah.
That's a really good thing. Like every time they do a session, you send it to them.
Bottom right.
Oh, okay.
So when this kid came to me, his dad forced him to train as well. He didn't really want to train. And you can pick that up straight away. So the first thing I had to do with Locke was find common grounds, build rapport, and make this fun for him, right? So he loves Star Wars, right? He's a very smart kid, he loves engineering, he loves science and stuff. So in the sessions, I'm not talking about front squats, create stack position, more knee flexion, quads are good. I'm just asking about what movies he's watching. and I'm asking him about what TV shows he likes and how's school going, and he hates learning French at school. It's like, cool, what else do you like learning? So this isn't even gym for him now. This is a friendly catch up with a mate twice a week.
That's so good.
Right,
Well
so
done.
yeah, and I learnt that a lot through these guys, right? Because I've been coached by both of them, and even Max Manov coming here. It's, you don't want to come here and go, all right, like 60 kilos, I'm lifting this today. It's, oh, what do I get to do today? I get to speak to someone new. I get to have fun, right? And that's the key thing that these guys are talking about. If it's not fun, that kid's not going to come back. Right? He's going to tell his dad to quit. So make shit enjoyable, make shit fun.
Alright, well said. And Seb you can go back through his posts. I'd really recommend you following him. You can see how he talks about, because it's his daughter, so it's closer. It's like, well, is he forcing his daughter to train? How do you do that?
He doesn't force it.
Yeah, he has a bit of a different relationship with that, and she's fucking killing it.
Really?
So, anyway, let's keep moving.
Yeah, 100%. Alright, so once we get that person in the gym, right? We got them in the gym, they understand long-term athletic development. We got a little like third break up here of like a little table. And 3 words that kind of dictate how we move along a continuum with youth coming in. Exploration, generalization, and specialization.
Hi everybody.
Nice. Hello. Nice week, guys.
Good, how are you?
Good.
That's good. So I come say hi.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
That sounds like you want to say something.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. So exploration, generalization, specialization. So we move along this continuum as we have youth athletes with us, or youth population. Can anyone kind of, just off the top of their head, trying to kind of define these and what an example would be like with this, or just anything, kind of understanding this. What's exploration? Like, what's a focus with exploration? What does that mean?
Explore, to find out about something, finding something.
Yeah.
Learning.
What are you exploring?
New, like
I'm not
trying to learn new experience.
Like new experience, new movements, new drills, exploring a range of different things. Yeah. Exploration is focusing on exploring a whole, like as we said, a whole new world for them. Like movements, drills, games, their body. They're just exploring everything. Yeah, they just need to understand everything, get exposed to so many different things. Yeah, there's no specificity about this. Straight, there's no specificity. Generalization. What does that kind of entail? As, what would you say generalization? So say you've explored so many different things. Now we want to be just generalization, we want to get general. What does that kind of mean?
I'd say just the normal things you do at the gym sort of thing. Like,
Fundamentals,
yeah.
like the basic things, yeah. So generalization is just doing general work to better help that youth population. So generalization is, again, there's no specificity here, except it's a little bit more structured in what you're trying to achieve. But again, it's general, it's basic fundamentals that are going to allow them to improve. Specialization. Like, what would you say specialization is to you?
Like studying to get specific towards your sport and developing areas that they would need or want to develop.
Yeah, nice, 100%. So things that directly will transfer and correlate to better preparing that youth individual for whatever they want to achieve, whether it be sport or in the gym, if they want to be a powerlifter. Do you know what I mean? 100%. Now, you can follow the 7-stage LTAD model and use that and kind of work around this. But I think the biggest thing is everyone's going to be different because the way we develop competency is so different between individuals. Like, you know, like we said, females mature earlier. So it's like they might move along this a little bit earlier. But the biggest thing is the more time we can spend around these two, the better. Especially early on with youth. Just because once you specialize in something, you don't really go back.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So this is really important because I've had a soccer, like I've been in a situation like a kid comes to you, parents come,
Oh, great. Yep.
and then they'll come and say, I want my kid to play, so they're really young age, like 18 years old, they're only playing soccer. They're not playing any other sport, they're not doing any other movement. what's a potential limitation of this? We've skipped all of this and we've just gone straight to specialization from like 8 to 10 years old. What could be problems about that?
They miss out on new skills, different skills,
Yeah,
transfer across sports.
absolutely. What type of skills could we be thinking about there?
Well, if they're only doing soccer, then and then they do, for example, you get them to do like some, I don't know, like catching or basketball or something like that, then
Not
that's a
good.
different skill.
Not good with their hands. Simpler.
So,
What if they're a goalkeeper?
warn parents and the child against early specialization unless they're like a prodigy, unless they're like so genetically gifted where it's obvious where it's just they're going pro, right? There's exceptions to every rule.
Charlotte, what would you, just to add on to that, because that's a great one. Like, what if a parent comes up to you and says, like, I want you, like, say he's 10 years old, I want you to give, like, my soccer kid, my son, Jerry. I want you to give the best chance to make professional soccer. Like, give him something specific to soccer. I want you to do all that specific power soccer work. Like, what are you going to say to them?
No.
Why?
Shut up, bitch.
You can say that. Good luck with Simon. Good luck.
Because there's more aspects to soccer than just like, pivoting and landing and using your legs. It's about moving your body well and teaching, the child about speed and all of that.
But like, regardless of soccer, like, there's more to movements than just soccer, isn't there? Yeah. So when they come to you and they want something soccer specific, will you be like, as long as they move better and they understand their body, they'll be able to improve athletically, regardless if they play soccer or not. They'll be able to improve their soccer work, but they don't need a soccer specific program. What they need is they need to understand their body. They need to move well. So because you're going to get that, like, I mean, especially with soccer, just because I've seen it, they love their specifics, like other sports too. They love their sport-specific work.
So just teaching them like transferable skills.
Yeah. Like, this is going to help them with life. Don't worry about it. Because like, what if they stop at 25? So even if they make it professional and they stop at 35, well then what? They know how to play soccer, but, what if their friends want to go down the basketball court and they want to just do that weekly on a Wednesday? But like, he feels like, oh, well, I'm not competent at catching, on the court, I don't feel comfortable with it, I'm not going to do it. He went from a professional soccer player, they won't even go out on a Wednesday night with his mates to play basketball. Now that's a more specific example, but the point is, we want to develop fundamental skills that allow the individual to explore exercise for the rest of their life. Because it will still help them with soccer at that age. Like, that will give them the best chance. If anything, it's going to be more beneficial than doing this. Because they do this, like, you can, like, at a young age, you can reap so many rewards of doing anything the fuck you want. Like, anything. Like, when a young person comes in, as long as you focus on moving better, playing around with the fundamentals, and exploring different things, and they enjoy it, like, you'll get benefit. What is that cheeky little paragraph here?
Yeah, I just didn't want people to read. I just wanted yes. Ask questions. Huh?
It's a good question.
Yeah, it's like, you read it. Would you rather your child be a better person or a better athlete first? Skip all the persuasion and just ask them that. They're going to answer the question for you. I hope they'll probably say person. If they say athlete, it's very telling of them as a parent.
Then you know what to do.
Yeah. It's like, you're not a fit for this program or something, but if they agree to that, then they just convince themselves.
I think that stuff too is also like transferable in life skills. What I learned in the gym is how to lift a deadlift. Now when I go to work, I need to lift a crate of milk instead of doing my back out and using my back. I can get down low and I squat up and use the whip and I don't hurt myself, so less injuries.
Mm-hmm.
You sold it to me and I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I'm going to sign up. No, but
What's the membership?
here's the paper.
Online coaching.
Here we go. 100%. We move every single day. We move every single day. And when we move well and we feel good, like, the rest of our life starts to be like, feel more successful. Like, we start to achieve different things. So I think the biggest thing is, like, move well, enjoy what you do. Like, because what happens as well from a mental standpoint, when we get so caught up in, like, at a young age, like, has anyone seen it where, like, we get so caught up at a young age of being specialised and focused on becoming a professional soccer player, like, or like whatever sport it be? What kind of happens to that kid mentally? They burn out. Because then like everything's like it has to be for that, and everything I do is for that. Like I wake up and I fucking do that. Now there's nothing wrong with having a drive, but they need to enjoy, they need to explore different things. They kind of take them away from that. Does that make sense? That allow them to feel good, move around, understand themselves. You know, have a mate, you know, to talk to. You know, like I bet with Chich, like what sport does you have a soccer player?
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, like he'll probably want to talk about his soccer. But I'm sure Chich doesn't just bother him about that. He talks about other things too. And that's the most important thing. They're a human, they're a person, they're not just an athlete. And I think we have to treat people like that from young, or they feel the pressure and the burden on their head that that's all that matters. And then when they come to Chich, it's all about just playing soccer. Where it's more about that. If he decided to stop playing soccer, he's still going to be with Chich because he loves training, he loves feeling good. And that's what fucking matters. Because then it sets them up for success for the rest of their lives.
And I've realized one thing as well. If you're specialized in one thing, it's harder to go to other things and learn other things. And if you've done your like generalization, like your basics well, and you're more efficient in like bigger spectrum, it's easier to specialize.
100%. If you specialize someone early,
Go back to the corner.
well, like say you specialize someone early, right? And they get good at that drill. Say there's like, or like they get good at those certain drills, those tasks. And then you get someone to go through this phase as long as you can, and then they slowly drip into that specialization. I bet you this person will be better at the specialization tasks than this person. Because if you don't have what are you talking about strength? Like if you don't have your base, like you can't be like explosive.
You can't be powerful.
Yeah, exactly. Same with anything. Like you can't be good at a specialized task if you don't have your base of just understanding yourself. Like how can you like get a baseball bat and swing it correctly if you don't even understand how to throw, how to rotate your body, like just in different planes of motion? Do you know what I mean? Like you're so limited to what you can do. Building your base is actually the most important if you want to be here.
Well, speaking of, this is practically what it could look like.
Yes, please.
Fundamental movement patterns for, you think it's children, but not just children, who else could this be applied to? Dynamic balance, control of trunk, axial movements.
Everyone.
Yes, and the elderly. But in particular, galloping. Yeah, that's a funny one. I'm a horse. Run the spectrum. Reach, grasp, throw, catch, kick, strike, manipulation, stability, locomotion. Write these down. Like this is your.
Ticks off what this is. Yeah.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, that's
Crazy. Wrote a vibe.
That's perfect.
Ahead of the time. So this is your progression model, practically, of how you will. What do I program for my children? Well, are they ticking the boxes of dynamic balance, trunk control, axial movements which load the spine? Are we doing jumping and hopping? And then reaching, grasping, releasing. He's got problems. Serious psychological problems.
What did you just say?
Now, Brick.
Oh. I thought he said last week they were going to stop saying.
No way.
That's
No
not
way.
happening.
He acts
That's
like
not
he's
happening.
he acts like he's annoyed from it. He doesn't fucking know from it.
So write these down, and
The first one, dynamic balance.
yeah, like single leg movements, unilateral stuff.
I think
Alex, can you increase the font?
I
Font
can
size?
try.
Is it possible?
Yeah.
I kind of see the result of the specialisation in some of the footy boys that come, because I know a lot of their dads were AFL players, so they definitely have trained them to be a better athlete and a better person. A lot of them now have only trained football, haven't played any other sport, and they resent it. They fucking, like I've spoken to some boys, they're like, I hate it, but I'm good at it, so I still play.
Really?
If you
Yeah.
skip this,
Yeah, and they're not good at anything else, so they stay in the game and they hate it.
So their identity is really
Yeah.
towards football.
Yeah.
if you skip that and then you go here, and then you decide to leave here, you can't, like, what, you're going to go back all the way to exploration? Like, it ruins your motivation. Like, you don't want to go back and start from the exact start because you've never done this before. So it's like when you build that base, people feel comfortable to go back here when they decide to leave that certain specialised area. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Also, like something I found when I started playing footy. Fucking tell me. When I started playing footy, like people kind of, because I was so like obsessed with it for so long, people like, especially like my close mates, kind of like looked at me and they were like, "Are you like alright, mate?" And I was like, well, "No," because that was kind of like how they like
Your identity.
my identity, and like my they sort of saw me as like the guy who was obsessed with footy, who like always wanted to get drafted and all this stuff. And then when I stopped like caring about it so much, they were just like, "Oh, like what's wrong?" So I think like that's another thing from Charlotte's point is like people probably also don't want to stop playing the game that they've always played and been good at because it's how they identify it. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Like it's true. Like you experience it firsthand.
Yeah.
And it's like now you're going on to do other things, and it's like that's awesome.
Yeah.
As you should. And you built your base. You can go do that. You can go become a triathlete.
Yeah.
And the trade, like I'm not saying it's easy, but you found an easier transition, didn't you?
Yeah.
Because you had already, you'd been doing this since you were younger.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had that from about 15. I didn't really start basketball very early. From about 15 to like 20, 21 years old. It was like that was the sole dedication was to be the best basketball athlete possible and take it as far as I can and play professionally. And I felt that identity crisis when I came back from America, and I just lost this love and spark. And I say that to say, if you're ever around somebody, a friend, a family member, a client, an athlete who is going through that, like they need, it's like a death. It's like a mourning, it's a grieving. It sounds weird for people who don't really understand it or lived it, but it's like you only see yourself as one thing, and that thing is gone, and you don't know what to do or who you are anymore. And yeah,
true.
Just like when I was playing cycle.
there you go. And I think that's how I found this field. I don't know about you, but I would just say that person needs support. You're going to be a really important pivot and support for them through that transition period, like psychological, emotional support, journaling, get them doing things like reflecting, and just going inward because, they'll need it.
Yeah, I think this happened to me recently as well because I was struggling seeing myself as a coach rather than like as a coach and not as an athlete.
Yeah.
Because I was like always used because I started training because I want to become a better like soccer player, and then I went into coaching. So I was like that was like hard transition period like mentally as well to look myself as as a coach and think in towards that perspective.
Interesting. Are you still playing?
I would still want to play.
Yeah, he's good at a doctor, yeah.
That's right.
I think one more thing I'll quickly add about like going back to like transitioning triathlon for me was like if I specialised too early in footy, like I did swimming and like running and stuff, never cycled, but like did swimming and running like growing up. And like if I wanted to go to triathlon, I'd probably be shit, especially if I just played footy then.
100%. That's why, like, at a young age, like, and this is just an example from when I was at Iowa recently. I asked one of the guys who get, like, when they draft their athletes, they look at the athlete who's played the most sports and is well-rounded because that's going to dictate them as an athlete. They don't look at the one who specialises in football the most because that provides them with fundamental skills to be a better athlete because in the day you need to transition through different positions. So it can even help you to specialise when you've done more things.
Yeah.
Because within a sport,
Capable.
there's different positions, there's different tasks. And the athlete that can become more competent at them, then, from generalising and doing different things, is probably going to be the more successful athlete. Very interesting.
I think LeBron was like going to get drafted in the NFL as
Yeah.
well. Like,
It's
like a fucking gun.
Yeah.
But like you also see as well, like how many people now are like getting drafted later on, peaking a little bit later and becoming way better than the people who were number one pick, 18, like fucking specialising in their sport for 10 years. Like they've already reached their ceiling really quickly as well. Whereas like what you guys are touching on, it's like build up a bigger base. They've got a higher ceiling than the guys who just fucking funnel in and do one thing. Like doing multiple sports, chasing different things. Like there's so many such wide spectrum shit they can do. And then when they do get to their specialisation phase at 22 instead of 16, there's such a large fucking base that they end up being better than the people who peaked at fucking 16. Like, it's so important. But it's not on you guys to tell them what to do as well. It's on you to expose them to the thoughts of there is more to just specialising in soccer. It's not, don't feel immoral for selling people into like, this isn't sport specific, because exploring different shit is very sport specific to soccer. Like doing different things is very sport specific for everything. You can argue anything sport specific.
It's life specific.
Yeah, for sure.
I think a specific example, like as a basketball athlete, like like when we look at a basketball court, like what like approximate size? It's not. What's a basketball court size? Like I don't actually know, but it's not longer than 30 meters, is it?
I think it's 40.
40 meters. Is it 40?
It's basketball can't be more than 30. Someone Alex.
It's not more than 30. No way. Right. Sorry. I'll give you my point. I'll give you my point in a second.
I was focusing on becoming a better basketball player. I didn't know how long the basketball court is.
How long are those suicides, Alex?
That's true. That's
How long
very
is
true.
the
28
suicide?
meters.
28. Okay. I was on. There we go. Okay. Now, when a basketball athlete comes to you and they want to be like, they want to be more explosive. What the first thing, like one of the big things I focus on is max velocity beyond 40 meters. They never achieve it in their sport, but as a general athlete, like especially as a youth athlete comes to me, I don't care. Because then they need to become a well-rounded athlete and get generalization and explore different things. Max velocity, higher top speeds, longer distance sprints. Yeah, no, I'm not saying you don't specialize into short, explosive power work, but at the end of the day, when you work in speed development, like it's still crucial because their hamstrings at a young age, they need to get used to, they need to tolerate that. Does that make sense? So that's a specific example where like you might get a basketball athlete and they're younger, but you're still going to expose them to different things that aren't specific to that sport. Whether it be sprinting at 40, 50 meters, focusing on max velocity technique, where even though they might only reach 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps in a game. Does that make sense? But I'm not going to specialize in that. I'm not saying I won't work on it, but they need a generalized athletic program that's going to allow them to improve.
People worry about specializing too early on and
exactly
not worry about majority of the stuff. Like your generalization is like 90% and like 90-95%, and the specialization comes afterwards.
100%. I had a swimmer who came to me and he'd done like all this swimming strength conditioning. Then he wanted to play footy and he tore his ACL. Like he just couldn't handle the demands of the sport. Everything he'd done, like working on lat strength, don't get me wrong, awesome. But he was fucking 13 years old. Like what? Like, and then he tried to play footy, wanted to transition to footy, make the AFL, and like within 6 months, like I'm not saying that's the complete reason, but think about it. He didn't have the tolerance, he didn't understand landing mechanics, he didn't understand his body outside of the pool. And that's affected him. He specialised too early in swimming and the coaches around him. Does that make sense? So it's important to, when you get, like I say, even a swimming athlete, doesn't mean you can't do prize, just make him a better athlete, make him a better human, and then they'll improve. Then once they get older, then you can focus on this.
Just got a question.
Yeah.
If there were two athletes that did, one went straight to specialization and the other one built up a good foundation, and they were both to get injured, would the one of the bigger foundation have a more better mentality to come back and continue strength training and all that, compared to the one that
Specialized.
did the specialized training?
Physically?
Mentally as well, yeah.
Yeah, first physically, yes, because they have the capacity to, because in the day, when you go through rehab, you go back to this phase here.
Yeah.
Generalization. Yeah, build your base of just being a better athlete, understanding your body before you get back into the specifics. It's like, you look at ACL rehab, like last few months is when you get to here, first 9 months is pretty much on generalization, right? So someone who's done that is probably going to feel more mentally motivated because they know what they got to do. Whereas someone who went straight to specialization might deem this as like, being like, oh, like I'm shit now.
Yeah.
Like I have to go back. I never had to do this. Which makes sense. Whereas when you understand the importance of this and they value it, they may mentally feel more confident because they've been there before. They understand. They know what to do. It's not completely different for them. It doesn't make them feel like they've regressed. Hey, something else? What's this on?
I think the person that has exposed themselves to a wider variety of movements will be more confident to rehab. They'll feel more confident mentally because it's more familiar. That's what I thought.
Is there any questions with that? I think that's the biggest concept. Like, in the day, regardless of all of this is literally the biggest concept of understanding when someone comes in, like, just build that base, understand, be here. Yeah. I think the biggest thing is with this, like, there's something in the gym or like when we're in the weight room or like implementing games, drills, what's a big factor of our programming that we should think about?
Periodization. These are what you try.
Well, yeah, periodization, but like
you want to nail everything, all the movements, like you want to train power, strength, power.
That's qualities, but like in terms of movements, what do we want? We want variety. And that's what exploration is. Creating variety in games doesn't have to be like strength movements, it can just be anything. Explore.
Variety within these major categories: jump, hop, land, catch, carry, throw. Actually, you want to do that now? You want to do the put them in little groups and then get them to work on creating drills and games?
100%. Just quickly, we'll just quickly finish the theory part then. Does anyone quickly know what PHV is?
Sure.
Just finish that and then we'll get on to it.
I'll be clear.
Does anyone know what PHV stands for?
No.
Okay. Peak height velocity. Stands for peak height velocity. Listen to that word, peak height velocity. We all reach this period at some point when we're younger. Does anyone understand like what peak height velocity the period is? Like just think about the word like peak height velocity.
Like how quickly, like the time when you're growing the quickest. Is that right?
Yeah, when your height growth, or the growth of your height is at its peak velocity. Pretty much use the words and put it in a sentence, yeah? So, does anyone know when that roughly occurs? In terms of puberty?
Just guessing, 80, 90?
No, age. I don't want to know age because ages can be
Okay.
very changed. I don't want to
So
know age. Before puberty, during puberty, after puberty, which one? Approximately.
Wait. Say that one more time. Like
So
what-
does your peak height velocity, so does your height growth
Yeah.
occur rapidly as a pre-puberty during? Obviously not after. Okay.
He's
I'm just waiting for mine.
Well, I have some unfortunate news we'll talk after.
Hey, we got some bad news, Max. Sorry, bro.
You seen that movie where
What movie? Tell me.
where a guy's like testicles will drop or something. So he never went through puberty, and then he goes through puberty at like 30 years old.
What's that movie called?
I don't know.
You get it, Max Hope.
Yes.
It's like, I'm 6 foot,
I
yeah.
have the name, send it in the group chat, tag @Max.
It's just my bibliography.
Yeah.
I'm putting my
Time
Instagram
travel.
story in
He needs
directly.
that would boost his self-esteem.
Yes, please.
Aren't you guys like similar height?
I'm pretty sure
Max is
actually.
taller.
This is awkward. The velocity growth curve. I added these because I wanted to help understand it better. And so this is the rate of height. The rate, how quickly are you gaining height? This is centimeters per year. This is boys, this is girls. Girls reach their peak earlier. So they may be more physically capable than boys during puberty. Crazy. Because it flips once you're an adult. So the range is the orange for both sexes. But we can see that peak around 12. Peak height. Females, boys, holy moly, guacamole. That's like 2 years later.
Has anyone seen like when you're in year 9 or something, all the chicks are taller? And, like,
Yeah, so this is
I mean, I was always small, but anyway, but, like,
Chris has been looking up for years.
So
Crack that, you're fucked.
when you have boys and girls, males and females in the same group, you need to consider this. Please.
please, consider it.
Please.
Yeah, please. Now, when people go, like, and this is just like coaches, right? When someone's going through a growth spurt, like, what are some things we see? Like, down there, someone's going through, like, they're going through their growth spurt, they're growing, limbs are getting longer. What's some things we see in there? Just like,
No motor coordination.
what was that?
No motor coordination.
No or low?
Low.
No,
Low.
Low.
they can't move. That's it. They can't move. Yes. So
Less motor coordination.
motor control reduces. Why?
Because they're not used to having like they're not comfortable with the like certain changes to their body.
Yeah, the proprioception of everything is reduced because like they got longer limbs. They need to understand how to use it. It's like a new body. So reduce motor control. So be aware.
However, anyone know what neuroplasticity is? Shut up. Fucking shut up. No, shout out Dr. Alan Pierce. How does that play into then learning and motor control, Lockie? Can it?
How does neuroplasticity play into it?
Yes.
When I assume during peak height velocity, it would be your neuroplasticity would be very high, so your ability to learn movements is very high.
Absolutely. And so actually at that time, but just before puberty and at the onset of puberty, your ability to learn new movements and capitalize on this motor control is the highest.
What did Lockie say?
I said, well, what did you say? Just before puberty.
Just before and during the onset, your ability to learn and acquire new motor skills. So let's say I'm never going to coach a junior. Most of you are going to have children, yes? Most of you will care about your child's development, yes? So, okay, I'm probably going to get them doing some type of movement training that's structured before puberty, so when they grow up, they can be more confident in their own bodies. At least you guys can take that with you, even if you never coach a junior, you'll coach a child. That's it.
No, 100%. And this is where if they start prior to this, saying like if they learn, understand these fundamental movements, even if they start to experience some sort of reduced motor control, their ability to gain that back is a lot more efficient because they've previously learned it before. It's like anything, yeah. They've done it before, even as their body grows. They have the likelihood of becoming more effective at it, developing competency a lot easier than other kids who haven't done it. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yes? Good man. In terms of a loading standpoint, like as our limbs get to, like as we grow, as we develop, as we get through our bodies, like as we feel a little bit less coordinated through deeper ranges of motion, do we have to be smarter with our loading?
Yes.
What's some things you might say?
In terms of?
Like just in general, so say the biggest thing is, right, let me explain for you. As we start growing, right, not only our limbs, our tendons, all our connective tissue is growing, right, everything's growing. Now the biggest thing is our tendons, our connective tissue, right, respond to load, right? Now, as we're becoming more coordinated, going through deeper ranges of motion, it's like if we're gonna just load it ridiculously, like we're gonna experience some sort of like awareness and issues through there. So I think it's not saying we can't load it. I think the biggest thing is just be smart and regulate as much as you can with a youth individual. Because some days they're gonna feel great, some days they might not, because they're just, again, they're understanding their body, they're understanding different loads. You can still challenge them, but just be smart, be more aware and regulate and always question how they are when you go through the
Is that related to like soft tissue, like tendons and all that?
Yeah, because as you get, because think about it, you're like, say you're taller now, you're going through a deeper range of motion, you're creating more stretch in that tendon, and you're adding the same amount of load. There's a lot of things that are changing, and tendons are sensitive to change. So this might create a little bit of a flare up. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but at the same time, it's like you're gonna manage that. Yeah, just be aware that these things may happen, and don't be scared of it. Just regulate.
I think that plays into like the kids getting injured in the gym as well. It's like kids might already have growing pains and sore, and you're about to that stigma of adding load to those things as well. Like that plays into the stigma a lot.
Yeah, like you don't have to be afraid of it. Like that's the biggest thing. Is like load isn't like the enemy. You gotta remember that.
It's the medicine.
It is the
You need
medicine.
stimulus.
But it's just all about how you.
You want to do it properly.
Yeah, exactly.
Take that medicine.
Like you want to load it because that's what's going to get him strong. It's going to build that connective tissue. It's going to build the muscle tissue around it, right? And it's going to build the integrity of the joint. But the biggest thing is, it's like if you just go ham and you forget about it and you never like control it when it varies. It's like, well, then that's when it might get out of control. But it's a good thing. Just be smart. Just understand how these kids are feeling. It's the biggest thing.
Poison in the dosage, or what's it say? The dosage is the poison.
No, the dose makes the medicine or the poison. Water,
That's great.
a supplement, load we're lifting.
100%. Did you have anything else there?
No, let's keep going.
Well, I mean, did you want to have a quick break before we start getting into a bit more practical, before we create great games here? Do you want to do that? Have a quick break, or do you want to just get straight into it? Straight into it? Awesome.
No, you feel different?
I need to go to the bathroom.
Go to the bathroom. So everyone have a quick, quick little break.
Everybody go outside. Everybody has to go outside.
That's a question.
You have to walk in the sun.
We got time. This
Hopscotch.
break
Let's go.
isn't as long. We got time.
Right,
works.
my guys, you forgot.
Alright.
Me a sharp. That's right. I remember. How do you feel in it? Is it a bit intimidating or are you fine with it?
I find it to be
Whoppa.
and I can't
What are these two things?
so I don't but I think
Okay, let's go. So, I'll run an example with Dirk, but essentially, yes, you got it. So, I'm going to be holding two balls out here, about sort of, hip height, and then Chris has got his hands on his hips, and then I'm just not going to say anything, I'm just going to drop one, and he's got to catch it. Preferably as well, catch the ball. With the hand that, like, so if I drop it on this side, he's going to catch it on this side. Yeah, that's it.
Right,
Get in pairs and then get a pair of balls. You sick-minded thing.
I got
Not bothered.
Hi guys.
Alright, see you guys. See ya.
Have a good day. Bye.
Have a good night. And then you can make it harder by you can make it
hard.
if you want to make it harder or easier, just go harder in your hand. Oh, he's on good. Yeah, and I was like, this is really easy. I'm fucking so good.
Alright, lower my hands.
Before you use a PT, you learn, huh?
Next. It's actually
Hey.
Show this other ball. Yeah, I'll catch it. Oh, why should I get started? My
Swap! No! Lottie, Charlotte, you guys got to next one. I'm sorry. You guys got to come through.
Very swapped.
Yeah, my bad, guys. Yeah, that's my bad.
Yeah.
Sometimes coaching.
Wait, everyone, what do you, something actually interesting. Like, what do we notice about what everyone's doing? Get back in that position. Like, and this is a good thing. Well, like, this, I mean, there's one thing, wait. So not that, I'm really good at this game. Hey, the game puts us as a constraint to put you in a really efficient position. What is that position?
Athletic base.
Ooh, and what is that?
Power position.
Yes, okay.
Quarter squat.
Quarter squat.
In squat position.
Nice. So what are we flexing? What are we bending? But yes, good. It acts as a constraint. Remember that. Those drills are really efficient. Now, we all got understood that game? Make sense? No? Let's keep going. Keep playing. Keep going. Keep going. Everyone.
Alright, everyone watch pace.
That's all. Alright, let's get it. Like, can someone get him a different bowl than that? Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have all these little bruises on my back.
Yeah, I want to watch pace.
I'm just worried for your hands.
Like Maxie's like, you almost don't want to grab it. It's like, just smack it. We're not laughing at it.
One more time. Alright, we got it.
I gotta get it, Casey. Chris.
Andy was sitting there for so long. Alright, no, you're on.
Balls away.
Right. Listen, group. What I want, two groups. What we're going to do is divide yourself into group 1 and group 2. So we start in a prone position, group 1, and so what we're doing is partner chase, yeah? So what I want, prone position, and from there, on my call, we activate, set, and then go, yeah? So I'll teach you the positions as well. So what I want, we start in prone position, we come up, on go, and then we sprint, yeah? Make sense? So you want to chase the partner, so the group 2 chases the person who is in front of you, and the group 1 want to finish to the line before the partner. Okay.
When you said on the guard, you can't get up. When do I know to accelerate?
No, I said set, and then on go you sprint. Yeah, I said that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm up.
Alright, man. Alright, come here everyone.
No, we start again. We know what anyone's
On the road.
Yeah. When it can't come,
It's dodgeball stuff.
That's
You
your-
can dodge the traffic, you can dodge the ball.
That's just you said we need a car coming.
Alright, group 1, I need 2 people. Let's start with 2 people here. Group 1. Max. Blocking. Max. Just come. Andy. And Ken. Come up.
outside there.
He's up way up there.
Let's do like 2 first.
That's just blood in my class.
Alright, what about coming prone position? Coming prone position. That's it. So remember, yeah? I'll say set, on go, on set, when we come up.
When we get to back up,
Out. Just do it perfect.
just go a little, just for a hazardous standpoint. Try stop with the camera.
Camera is, yeah.
Just because like I don't want anyone slipping in the dark.
And you want group 2 want to chase them like catch them before they actually reach the camera, yeah? Get that. Push them. Yes, good. Stay. Good. Sorry. Right, come back. Right. Stay. Go. Quick. Mexico.
Mechanics, Maxi, mechanics.
That's exactly what I need.
Alright,
Good. Come up here. Come on, little
No, have the next pair as well. Make the group feel larger and more included. So have another pair come up as well to take the pair.
Alright. No, give me one. Max, come up and who was with you? Chase. Max and Andy coming. Alright, ready? Stay.
there's no way, man.
Come back. Stay. Go.
Come on, Charlie.
We got back down to position.
Max, why do you keep going to the right?
Alright, one more time.
Are you like saying something?
Oh my ankle. You made relative.
I'm just bracing as a car coming in.
My running shoes on.
Alright, one more time. Group 1 and group 2.
You stop
Like
again.
10. And maximum groups.
Some specials next time.
Yeah.
Correct.
Andy, look over to it again. Alright, come on. Someone down. Alright, 1-1. This time, group you, slightly start moving to the left. So, like a song group 1.
Sorry, I was about to say something.
Alright, ready?
Stay! Go! Quick, go, Tice!
How? Ace is quick. Right.
So lucky.
Something up. I see.
She's running away from a lot of people. She's still a lot.
You were.
I was a football, wasn't I? Okay. Alright, so we're going to do a similar thing. We're going to go into partners. We're going to say set, we're going to go quick feet. I'm going to call out a body part, so knees, quick feet, knees, again. When I say go, same thing, just quick feet.
So, start tall, yeah?
Start tall. So tall, set, quick feet, knees, ankles, whatever. When I say go, sprint to the end.
Also, so we are sprinting afterwards.
Yeah. Like an acceleration after.
Okay. Are we just normal sprinting or just catching someone or?
No, so it's going to be 2 kg and 5 kg. I have no way of checking what it means, but just, yeah, we're going to do it. Alright, so. We're not paging going to go first. Yeah, that's not nice. You're in a party there. Alright, so. So we're going to bowl at the end first. Alright, so you're start tall. And set. Big feet, hips, shoulders, knees, ankles, go! Right, it's like this, it's like...
I think we high five there, eh?
He's got to win. He's got to win.
He's so funny.
Alright, you want to go next? You guys go next? Then go! Alright, let go! Let go! Let's go! So start tall. And set. 2 feet. Shoulders. Call. What? Come on, core. Glutes. Hamstrings. Knees. Shoulders. Elbows. Go! Your shoulders. Starting, always like the hardest part is starting. So like if you've got something fun to look forward to at the start as a client, then it makes it a lot easier to just to start and get there.
100% excites the nervous system, gets the blood flowing. Like how much better, like all those niggles, all that like tiredness you feel like. Once you get your blood flowing, sometimes you don't realise we feel tired after work if you've been sitting down all day. And once you get your blood flowing, you almost feel like energetic again. So sometimes doing those drills just gets you in the mood. Makes sense? What's something you know, Charles?
I think it's just like we are an educator. Like ultimately, we are teaching and setting up these kids' lives for, you know, health and enjoying exercise. I was definitely a kid that wasn't involved in sport or anything like that. I was very lazy, and I wish I knew at a younger age how important, you know, health and well-being and exercising and sport is for you.
Yeah.
So mentally and physically. So I like the fact that we're also teachers. We also get to kind of share our passion with young kids that want to learn about it.
Yeah.
Also, your teachers, your mentors,
We
your
guide
educators,
Yeah.
your guiders, yeah. And just like, you know, people, we learn our relationship with food, with stress, with everything from our environment and our parents, or you guys and we are a pivotal role model and influence into that child's relationship with exercise, their self-image, their body image, and lifelong habits they'll have. So that's a very sacred I think, sacred and valued thing. So please don't take that for granted. Everything you do, everything you say, those kids are watching up and looking to model you. So are you behaving as someone that is aspirational and inspirational in some way?
I think that I definitely like test that. Like when I first came to Woodford's, like everything Woody would do, I'd just be like looking at him like you're fucking god.
Yeah.
And like I know, like you with like those when I was training here last year, those like young boys that come here, like they all like kind of take the piss out of you guys, whatever. But like they're like 100% will be doing the same thing and looking. They're only 14, 15, I don't know how old, but like you're not as old as to them as Woody was to me. But still, like they're obviously like looking up to you and like looking at what you do and like. Yeah.
It's going to sound maybe strange, but it's just real. They are modelling of how to be a man in the world, and they are modelling how to be a woman in the world, and how to conduct themselves as an adult, as a person. So that's, I mean, Taze, you know, growing up how like influential that hierarchy is, and it occurs in this environment as well.
100%.
And I think that, I think that opens up as well, like, who are your guys' mentors, and who are you guys looking up to as well? Like, I'm pretty privileged to work with these two guys, so I'm going to take a lot from them. You know, Woodford, Jamie Smith, all these big people. So it's like, you guys learning, it's like, who are you all going to be picking as your people that you like and want to model behind them? Because at the end of the day, you're the product of your five closest people in your environment. Yeah. And it's like, who do you want in your five? Because then, and you're probably going to be one of those five in those kids' life as well for a big chunk of their you know, growing adolescence. So it's really important that you're helping them, but also look at your own five, and they're the five people in your life helping you or hindering you.
Well done.
I quote Sandalis on this 3 years ago. You're an amalgamation of the 5 people you spend the most time around. Exact quote, word for word, Sandalis. Great quote.
Check us out,
Frank the Saad. Right.
Yeah, you're amalgamation, you're a mix, you're like a melting pot.
Yes. Yeah. You're a creation, you know, because in the day our environment dictates that. So it's like the mentors, the people you spend your time around, you know, have helped shape you, for better or worse. And so will when you spend time with these junior athletes, like, and they like, you know, like I said, like, when you bring junior athletes on, they're gonna, and like I said also, like, they're learning how to be a man or a woman. Like, they're growing up to be adults, and they want to view different habits. It's not just about what they learn in the gym. It's about the way you behave, the standards you set.
Yeah, so I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's like how Christian behaves in front of some of these young boys and these kids is, well, it's debatable, it's questionable. Like, those kids are going to be learning. It's like you see on the extreme end of like someone very braggadocious and very energetic and passionate, which is great. But, you know, it can go far the other way into more destructive behaviors. So just be mindful of that. Even little things we don't even realize we say and do.
Just be mindful of like this is a big thing, and like the habits and the behaviors you have. Like, do you rock up on time? Like, they will learn everything you do, and they'll take into what you do, and they'll implement that. Do you know what I mean?
Like, Chris and I, what if we were late? What if we just like came at 9:30, 9:35, 9:40? Like, you guys would think all that's okay, but you know we're coming like 10, 20 minutes early, so it's not an acceptable behavior.
That's the thing, and then you see that stand, and you guys want to be there. And with junior athletes, it's on a greater standard. Like, those guys will pretty much, because they don't know, they're learning life. They're everything's in such a new experience for them. So when you get to create that and create those habits and behaviors, like, everything you show them is like crucial. Like, with my young boys, like, that I work with, like, I create a standard for them, like how I want them to be. Like, even the way they write, like, these boys would know. Like, I don't fucking take like and don't get me wrong, this is just my personal thing. Like, fix your fucking grammar, like, when you speak to me. Like, because I want them to treat me and like anyone older than when they go in for like a job interview. Like, they have better grammar. They can have a conversation with a more mature individual. I can chat with them, because that's going to help them in the future. When they want to talk to agents, when they want to talk to coaches, because all of them want to make the professional standard, right? So for me personally, the way that they express their language is crucial. Now, not everyone agrees with that, that's just myself, but I keep them to that standard, and they learn that. So when they give me reports about how they are, what they're doing, they have that standard, they express themselves correctly, rather than, yes, you can't, how you doing? I'm not saying you can't say that, but I don't cop that standard from them, do you know what I mean? So for me, that's a big thing because I find with this day and age, like for the juniors coming through, they fucking act like that or they say shit like that. But I know for a fact, like you got older coaches, they don't want to fucking hear that. Like they want to see someone who can present themselves more maturely. Because when they see something like that, and Locke could say this, like, if you want to get drafted, they don't want someone who's going to create an issue to their club, or get in fights, or act and do things that's going to tarnish their reputation. They want someone who can present to them, professionally. So I think that's just as important. So the things you do and the standards you set with everything they have to do for you, I think is crucial. Nice. Any other things we learned that were just like, you guys really enjoyed?
Just educating the parents. Like I remember growing up, I didn't touch weight until I was 17 because of that stigma in the gym. My parents are like, no, don't go to the gym, blah, blah, blah. It's gonna like start your growth sort of thing. But I think the more educated the parents are, especially in my background, like the Polynesians and all that, I reckon if the parents understood more, there'd be a lot more kids in those junior developments and all of that.
What it is, it's now your responsibility. Okay? It's your responsibility now. And that's a very important responsibility. So I have the expectation of you now, and I hope you live up to that standard.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is this is so important because I and Sandals can only work with so many juniors. The biggest thing is you guys need to take this and implement it with all the juniors you work with. To make greater scale changes, we're trying to educate you the importance of it so you can take it away. Like, yeah, some of these things you might be like, oh, well, what's the point? But it really does make a difference. So if you all, because you all will work with juniors at some point, most likely, yeah. So if you guys can make those differences, that's going to make us happy because it makes a greater scale change. Yeah.
So I heard that the standard you keep is the one you walk past. You heard that?
Didn't I say it?
She said it.
When?
When we were talking about,
Yeah.
because everyone used to
The
Really?
look
standard,
up like,
the standard you.
I swear I didn't
the standard
even.
you set.
Yeah, there you go. I swear I didn't even make that connection. There you go. Well, resonates with you. I hope it resonates with all of you. It's like, oh, I messed up because I dropped the bands. That example, I dropped the bands. I'm like, I walked past this. No, I asked you help if you could put it back, like the bands when they dropped. Right, so things like that. Don't leave a mess.
Awesome. I mean, from a learning standpoint, awesome, killed that. Next week, power and plyometrics, a lot more engaging, a lot more practical. Be ready. Some of you may have experience in it, some of you may not. That's fine. I think the biggest thing is like understanding the concept of power, plyometrics, the continuum is crucial because it's like I think there's such a big myth or so much confusion with plyometrics. I think we'll break down and we'll go in and dive into, and then we'll obviously get quite practical with that. So make sure you have your runners prepared so that you can engage as well. Assessments, again, how did we go this week? Honestly, as a group, did we all put down when we want to set time aside?
Yeah, we did that. And how did that go?
Did we get it?
I've got some stuff to say.
And I want to be on. I want straight honesty here.
Manov, how did you go? Did you do it?
No, not. I only did one day. One day.
But you did one of the time and day we
Yes.
set?
Only on Monday.
What happened the other day?
Working. I was working at that time. So.
Okay. Andy's fine, nice, fine. Taze?
I did 2 days last week.
Okay.
Yeah, wasn't any good. Just finished late the whole week.
Hey, you did it.
Yeah.
You showed up.
Yeah.
Charlotte?
Watched a few lectures, but I haven't got time to do it today because I'll be in the game
Yeah.
and then out.
So your next day is when? Study
Well, I can do it tomorrow.
session? Really?
Yeah, Sunday I have some use stuff
What, in the morning?
all day.
All day?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll follow up next week.
That's the thing. I love this. But like I said, Cert 4 is coming. Well, pretty much like power and plyometrics is pretty much the start of Cert 4. I know it doesn't completely align, but this means I want Cert 3 done. I want it out the back. Just because like power play matches is awesome, great topic, but a lot of content. Like just because like I said, some of you haven't been brought these topics before, so the next few are going to be a lot more demanding in terms of your learning, comprehending it. That sometimes you may need to take these learnings from these workshops and go back and revisit them. But if you've already got other work to do, the likelihood of doing that is going to be there. So let's really focus like next 2 weeks on just trying as hard as we can to get it done. If you guys need help with it, message me or send Alice, either privately or in the group, like anytime throughout the week. If you have a question, don't wait to come here. Like we're available.
Throw my name in that as well if you guys need
He's done it.
support and help.
He knows exactly what to do. Because then some of these tasks, like some of them really good. Some of them you just need to roll through. So if you need help on guidance to do that, we're here. Because we want you to finish it. Yeah? We all know what times we've got to do next week to get that little catch up ahead. Contact us. Other than that, you're free to roll. If you have any questions, stay back. Enjoy.
Done. Done.
Oh.
My body's like stiffened up again.
Blood's cold now.